Lieutenant Tasha Yar's got some mad transporter skills. Commander Riker looks like an undefined form standing in a visual frenzy. And Captain Chorus dies well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and Denise Crosby.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1, Episode 19, Heart of Glory, story by Maurice Hurley, Herbert Wright, and D.C. Fontana, teleplay by Maurice Hurley, directed by Rob Bowman. This was March 19th, 1988. 88. We have a very special guest today, the one and only. He makes you forget what decade you're talking about, VAUGHN Armstrong.
Yeah,
that's me, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh yeah.
We also have a very special thanks to Grandpa One for sponsoring this entire season of Next Generation. Thank you so much, Grandpa One, aka Tim Baum. Vaughn, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is your very first Star Trek role, is that correct?
It was my very first Star Trek role, and I had a ball. We got to do some hollering and some running around and shooting and stuff. It had everything.
It's like a boy's fantasy come true, you know? A little boy's fantasy.
Totally.
You're sitting in front of the death yell there. I'm in the middle. I'm the only guy you can't see, but you can see my forehead back there.
Wow.
Yeah, see, we
There you
invented
are.
that death yell.
Yeah, and actually, when I saw that, it immediately flash forwarded for me to when, spoiler everybody, Jadzia Dax dies in season 6 of Deep Space Nine, and Worf does the death yell howl.
Yeah.
But it's really powerful and dramatic, and you guys do it later. But Vaughn, can you tell us, just get us started with this? Were you a Star Trek fan before this? Had you watched the original series? Did you know anything? Or were you like, these guys want to hire me and put stuff all over my face, but whatever?
No, I watched it with my dad all the time. In fact, I watched it before that in college after we got back from rehearsals. Midnight, there was a double feature. There was Star Trek, and then there was Twilight Zone, and that's the way I let it all out. I watched those two things in order and went to bed. That was pretty much it.
And had crazy dreams.
So I was dreaming of all these creatures before I played one. It was, I got lucky. And I think this was the first time on television that they used this makeup for the Klingons. Instead of just looking like Russians, all of a sudden they're animals, but honorable animals. But I think the honor came later. Because in our episode, we were just still bad guys.
You're right about the makeup. Yeah.
Yeah.
First TV episode. Sorry, Cirroc.
No, I was going to say, Vaughn, you said that you got lucky, but I beg to differ. Based on your performance in this episode, I would say it had very little to do with luck and everything to do with your skills as an actor. I had to rewind the scene that you had with Worf, that really poignant scene where you're getting kind of under his skin and starting to have this moment with him. And the way you said those words and the way, it just sounded like music coming out of you. It was a great performance. It felt like Shakespeare to me. It felt like as good as it gets when you watch somebody performing. I had to go back and write the words down when you say, so when the night was still and quiet and the sound of the blood rushing through your veins filled your ears. That is poetry, and the way you delivered it.
That shit is deep.
Yeah,
I didn't write it.
That shit is deep.
But you delivered it though, Vaughn.
Yeah,
you nailed it.
Well,
you nailed it.
Thank you very much for that. That's one of the nicest things anybody's ever said to me.
Well, they should be lining up saying that daily.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
thanks.
It's just they're not watching it, like we're watching it right now, because it was some of the best writing I've seen so far.
It was good.
Yes.
No question about it. Hey, if I got to say shit like that, I may have stayed.
Yeah.
You're saying that with a
yeah.
straight face too, by the way. Everybody just listening, she's not joking there.
No. That's, it's always been the writing for me. And you had the best writing, but in general, as a whole, in an episode. There have been little blurbs, there have been little sayings, there's been one sentence here and there that you kind of go, oh, wow, Jesus. And I'm a writer, so I get the writing. But this was like, wow, this is just really beautiful stuff to be.
We were speaking the high language. We were doing Shakespeare. It's true.
Yeah.
Most of us have done quite a bit. I was in the middle of doing a bunch of shows at the Mark Taper and at the Old Globe in San Diego when I did this.
Wow.
But
well, that's why you could deliver this in a way. I mean, theater is where it's at for this. And with you saying that, I get it connects the dots, because you flawlessly owned this language, and that's not easy. You can go off in little Lord Fauntleroy territory and start being all kind of flowery and florid, but you grounded this language in such a way that was real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not real. We don't talk like that. We don't go, the blood flowing through my veins creates the atmosphere of consciousness. Whatever you were saying, we don't. That's not. I mean, I as a writer, I'm aware of how we talk. Yeah. So we don't talk like that. So for an actor to take that language and ground it in choices and emotion and a character like you did was really good stuff, man.
I appreciate that.
Such good acting.
I was so impressed, Vaughn.
I'm telling you,
nice, you guys. I'm getting verklempt here.
I was like, you know what? I don't think I properly given Vaughn his respect as an actor, because I haven't seen your work really the way I just watched it now, and I say, wow, this is extraordinary. And I had to rewind it a few times because, like I said, it was like you were really connecting, and this is the first time we got to see the Klingons. I mean, a really Klingon story. So you're, in a sense, for me, defining what the Klingons are about, and their sense of fight and their sense of
Bob
identity.
and JG told me that they insisted that they watched that episode when they got their roles as Klingons. They insisted they watched that one first.
JG is here with me at this con, so I will be forced. I'm going to just tell him that first thing in the morning.
Well, I did Romeo in 1967, I think. Was my first Shakespeare. I was 17 years old. And I thought, if I can make this believable, if I can make this real, I can make anything real. So that's what I started doing Shakespeare with. That was the idea that I started doing Shakespeare with. You can't just be spouting poetry. You want to make them feel your heart, so that's what you do.
And see a real human being, or see a real Klingon. This is, a real real being.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody at home, when he mentions Bob and JG, by the way, that Robert O'Reilly, who plays Gowron, and JG Hertzler, who plays Martok, they said that they watched his episode to kind of pull from to portray their characters later on. But Vaughn, what did you pull from? Were you guessing? Were you talking with the director? Did you base it on what you saw in the movies and the original series? Where'd you get that?
Well, there was a lot. I was kind of born to play that role, and I wasn't that long out of Vietnam. You know, I'd been back for about 12 years or so. So there was still this warrior guy that I felt in me. Oh. And this was kind of a good description of that. I did not get the first scene right, you know, and that was because I was lying. And so I was trying to be a nice guy to these people. But really, what I should have done is lie about being upset about what they did to me so I could get a better start on that character. But I'm, like you said, doing, you know, a dream language to kind of try to fool them. I don't think it worked. I saw it not long ago, and I should have started with an angrier core instead of pretending to be so sweet. You know, if you watch it again, keep that in mind, that first scene. And also the first scene, when I had all this dialogue, I didn't have the teeth in, you know? So then they came in they weren't ready. So they came in for the next scene and they said, Vaughn, you got to wear these. I said, what? You're kidding me, right? I'm supposed to talk with those in my mouth? And they said, yeah, you got to do it. You got it. I said, I just did a whole scene without those teeth. Much for that, the first scene.
Wow.
And then I put them in, and it was like having pool balls in your mouth, you know, while you're trying to talk, marbles. But
I think it was good that you did it the way you did. I know you say in hindsight you'd like to start out a little meaner, but what I liked about it was you started out kind of soft, thinking that you're dealing with the Federation and just these other guys that you don't know. What made you become more yourself was that there was a Klingon there in Worf. And that lets you kind of let your guard down and say, look, buddy, this is what the deal is. I'm going to let you in on something because you and I have a kinship and this thing that beats the side of us. And I thought that's what made it work for me, that you were letting your guard down because you knew you had a friend. You knew you had somebody who was going to advocate for you on your behalf, at least from the way you see things.
Right. And there, the setup, you know, the Klingon connection is far greater. I mean, they're trying to set it up that it takes relevance. You know, it's the number one priority of, you know, whatever uniform you want to put on, whatever, you know, style or progression or traveling you're doing as a Klingon, we are at core always this, and this rides out, this takes priority. You know, this is beyond, and that was, you know, that's a wonderful social psychological notion that, you know, Star Trek plays around with. Like, are you going to be that? Or are you going to be us? Are you going to be who you really are? Are you going to be the new you?
And there's even an acceptance there. So when that death ritual happened and you first killed the other Klingon that was injured in the beginning, and you decided, okay, I'm going to put him out of his misery and kill him, and you guys do that scream, Picard and the rest of the crew are saying, they're not objecting to it, right? They're not saying, hey, what are you doing? You can't kill the guy. You know, there's rules here. They're accepting that culturally, this is a Klingon thing. You guys handle it your way, and we are allowing that to be kind of a cultural, you know, ritual of yours, that how you finalize this person's last moments.
Well, it even scared me.
Yeah, that's
it was pretty
so
moving.
Cool.
Just yelling to the heavens that a Klingon warrior is coming. And that was kind of difficult too, because back then I had bad teeth, and I do this thing, And they want them to take a real close up in on my teeth, and I'm not. I don't think you want to do that. And they did it anyway, and they said, "No, Vaughn, you're right. We don't want to do that." I had a fair degree of cavities at that moment that I got in Vietnam.
Well, we look at. I mean, we look at stuff, in the 70s and 80s, and you catch actors opening their mouths wide, and you see all this, metal fillings, and you just go, okay, even with I've caught it on this show, I caught it with Geordie the other day with LeVar, and he has, regular fillings. We all have. I've got a couple still, and they're metal. And you just go, well, in the 24th century, I don't know, I mean,
nobody has cavities.
Nobody has a cavity. You just go, and you're done, abracadabra, mouth is pure. Yeah.
And that's what the guy said, actually. He said, no, you've got too many cavities. I said, they're not cavities. They're fillings.
That's right.
And they're caps. They're not cavities.
Right. They were formerly cavities.
Yeah, they were.
I really love that scene though, and I think this was Worf's first episode. So you essentially are, Worf as a central theme of an episode. This is Worf's main episode in the first season. This is
story,
yeah. We're breaking Worf's character essentially because he's an ancillary character essentially up until now. Now we're actually getting backstory on where he came from. He talks about being adopted by this family and moving to Galt. But I really felt like you were, touching the nerve that people who have difficulty, tracing back their identity and their lineage, when somebody doesn't know where they come from, there's an insecurity about that. And you were pushing on that nerve of Worf, like, they treated you like this because you weren't like them and you were different and you didn't know where you came from and this and that. And so, that's a common thing that is done when people are trying to, get under your skin or find a way in deep. Psychologically, I love that, but I loved how you delivered the lines once again in the performance wise when you say, I understand why you can't relent or repent or confess or abstain. And I just had to go back and watch that at least 10 times because it was so musical, Vaughn, and the eyes and the passion.
Vaughn,
some excellent scene.
It was so great. It was so interesting. I don't know if a little bit about, my involvement here, but I have not seen the shows since they first aired 35 years ago. And, I'm seeing them for the first time from a 35-year, arm, a distance. And safely with these two guys who are walking me through, my own career, so to speak. And it has been so delightful to watch the process and the progression of this show and my own self in it. But what a gem of a performance you give. And I just can't wait to hug you the next time I see you and just
I'm just going to bring a copy that we can watch together
in my cabin on the cruise ship. Okay,
that's what I'm talking about.
In a few months, baby. Don't bring your wife. Okay. It'll be good. It's like, just bring your ukulele. Okay,
that's all I don't go anywhere without it.
Yeah,
great
right?
on the ukulele.
Yeah.
But you can see why, Vaughn, they brought you back more times than any other person. It makes sense now based off of something like this. It's like, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, this guy is amazing.
Thank you. But when I did that role, I thought, shit, there's no reason I can't.
When they kill you in the first.
Even if they kill me, I can.
There is an advantage to prosthetics.
Yeah. like my song says, give me a forehead, put me back on TV. But that brings up a story. I was in the Globe again. I did like 10, 12 shows at the old Globe. And Jack had a policy, Jack O'Brien, the director, of you can't do anything else while you're down here. They wanted me to do a Cardassian, which I think was my second role. And the people are, the stage managers saying, no, you can't really go. And I'm thinking, no, I'm going. So I called Jack and I said, Jack, I am begging you. This is a true opportunity right here for me to get something going. And I need to go do this. And yeah, Vaughn, we're gonna make it work. And I went back later, and Richard, what's his last name? Who's passed on since then, but
Richard Arnold?
No, at the Globe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said, I heard, Vaughn, that you were begging him. Please, really, it's just one role. I'd like to see him now and say that turned into 36 years of employment.
Yeah,
which it did.
Gift that keeps on giving. Absolutely.
It keeps on giving. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
well,
just one role.
Rightfully so. Watching this episode, this probably created the impetus, I would say, or certainly contributed to the idea that this could be something that we could, because there were a lot of dogs before this, a lot of dogs scripts and I mean they're
dogs
just
and snakes,
dogs and snakes and all kinds of shit. But this kind of was like, yeah, this is good stuff. If we go there, we got something, and just seeing the Klingons, it was just something so tangible and we could it was exciting, and we'd never seen anything like that, and it was vibrant and it was good for the show. I mean, the whole thing was good, I think, for the series.
I think you're right, and they had that in mind because Rob Bowman was saying, here it's been to this point talking heads a lot.
Yeah.
And we want something with action. So I want you guys to be the bikers of the universe, he said.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, give me a bike and I'm going. You know. And like I said, I still had that that kind of pent up need to let crap out of Vietnam, and this gave me that opportunity just to yell it out,
Wow.
So I was ready for this role.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, if I don't get this role, I quit.
Really?
I was ready to quit acting if I didn't get that role, because it was so much me at the time. I just said, I can't not do this role.
Vaughn, now that you say Vietnam, it's interesting because, the character is essentially wants to be on his own and almost disavowing the whole military complex of the Klingons in some kind of way. I feel like, he's trying to get away and just, do his own thing and doesn't want to be in that Klingon military system that they have, and almost fighting for his independence and his freedom. So there was a level of that in the character.
Well, he was fighting. Yes, go ahead, Vaughn.
No, I was just giving a brief answer. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, like, he's fighting for the integrity of who he is.
Of individuality.
Yeah.
That's
individuality.
Yeah. Do what I want. And what the drill sergeants always said to me, can I say fuck on this show? Or
Yes. Oh, yes.
You can't say the
you
fucking
think
F word, bro.
Okay. He said, what the fuck do you think you are, an individual? And I said, sir, yes, sir. Isn't everybody? And he said, you take 50 laps right now. Okay. So I'd do my 50 laps and come back and be an individual. You know?
So yeah,
so you channeled that into this character.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens sometimes, you know, as actors. Something lines up so well, and you learn something about yourself as a human being, or you go through something by playing this role that you reveal to yourself, or you exorcise out of yourself, or you confront yourself in. I mean, that's this really wonderful, magical, spiritual. You call in the spirits. I was watching something. What was it the other day? And they were talking about acting. You've got to bring the spirits. You've got to invite the spirits. Something other happens. You know?
That's something that I often have a little too much of in my roles. I have a little too much of that spirit sometimes, and I try to make it real. But
there's a great book. For our audience. It's called The Mystic in the Theater, and it was written by Ava Le Gallienne in the 1920s, I think, and she was a great American precursor to the method, and had studied Duza and all these great actresses. But I remember, it's a thin, beautiful book about acting and what you must bring to the stage. It's not just this technical marking your marks and saying the lines, but you conjure things. Yeah. Oh, I know what I was watching. Irma Vep, remake of Irma Vep, the French film, and they made an 8-part series on HBO Max, and it was really interesting. And I recommend it to everyone. We're going really rogue off of Star Trek, but talking about, you are making me think of this experience of actors being able to bring this life force experience into their performance, and you see when it happens and you see when it's not happening. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell that was you, Vaughn.
I know. I mean, you can transform yourself.
I was looking at this character and I was thinking, I know that's Vaughn. It's got to be Vaughn. It must be Vaughn. That's Vaughn. But I couldn't see you. It was crazy. I couldn't see Vaughn Armstrong. I could only see this Klingon that I was looking at. And you, the person that you are before me, kind of disappeared behind that character. I thought that was another fantastic thing that you did in delivering this performance.
You guys are generously perceptive. Smart people.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, well, I know of another book that kind of invites you to get into a character like this. It changed my career, really. It's again a skinny little book. Stockwell's, not Dean, but Guy Stockwell.
I was thinking Dean.
Brother was quite an acting teacher, and he wrote this book. And he shows you how to get the inside of the character first. Don't sit there and just try to memorize lines. Basically, it's an audition book. It's called The Cold Reading Advantage, but it works for everything.
Right.
You get the inside first. When was the last time you were with this person? What do you want to do to that person? What do you hope that person is trying to do to you, or what do you think they're trying to do to you? What was the last scene you had with them a minute ago or 30 years ago, or whatever. And it gets you to look at this kind of thing. And by the time you're done doing that with the script, you know the lines. You know, he says the script is the menu, the behavior is the meal. So he gives the actor the chance to experience what behavior these things might bring before he starts trying to memorize the lines. And then you just got to clean them up a little. You've already got them. You've created this whole history by looking at the script. And then you just kind of clean up the lines. And that does what you were talking about, you know?
Well, Vaughn, we do have to run to our break and let you go in just a second. Before we do, I just want to echo what Cirroc was saying, that last point that he made about I had to keep checking to make sure that was you, because that character was just such an individual in and of itself. It didn't feel like Vaughn playing a Klingon. It felt just like this Klingon character. And I kept going, wait, is that still Vaughn? Man, that is like unbelievable. We're so grateful that you got the role and so grateful that you joined our show. We are lucky for it, and Star Trek The Next Generation is lucky for it, and the fans are lucky for it. But thank you so much, Vaughn.
Yeah.
You guys
thank you, Vaughn,
for clamping me.
I am so happy that I got to revisit this episode and see just the level of your talent and what you brought to this role. It is
thank you so much.
Impressive.
This has been nice, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vaughn. What a showcase.
I had a great time here, too.
Everybody stick around. This was Captain Chorus. On IMDb, it says Commander Chorus, by the way. Kind of weird, but you're definitely Captain Chorus, as they mentioned in the episode. So no demotions, please, IMDb. So thank you very much. Everybody stick around. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Denise, Crosby, Cirroc, Lofton, and Vaughn Armstrong has made his ceremonious exit. What a great guy. Really loved having him.
Oh, my God.
Here are the trivioids of the week. There's a disturbance in the neutral zone. The Batris is a Talarian vessel. Something smells like a trap. Data and Geordie have been working on transmitting what Geordie's visor sees. Commander Riker looks like an undefined form standing in a visual frenzy. Tasha Yar's got some mad transporter room skills. Talarians were taking Klingon passengers to MZ5. Sounds like Mzadi almost. Galt is a farming colony. Klingons howl a warning to the dead that a Klingon warrior is about to arrive. Worf wants to plead, and Captain Chorus dies well. All right. I feel like we could just keep talking about Vaughn, but there's so much other stuff to talk about. And everybody at home, look him up. The second episode he mentioned that he did was actually the second episode of Deep Space Nine, where he played a Cardassian. I forgot what the character's name was. I could check. Guldanar. He also played a couple episodes as our boy Seskal in the 7th season of Deep Space Nine. He played Admiral Forrest, a bunch of episodes, of course, in Enterprise, and some various characters in Voyager, like the Alpha Hirogen. But anyway, you guys enjoyed this one, huh?
I did.
This is just jam-packed with some really cool stuff. We talked about Vaughn's, stellar performance in the first section. But what I loved to see and get a taste of, is the Klingons, which will become a prominent, will become prominent players in this whole series. So I loved seeing the Klingon food that they are given. It's the first time we're sort of getting this wonderful sense of how they eat and what the food and the kind of vibrancy of them eating. But the death ritual was just like off the charts for me. It was it was so powerful and so visual and cinematic, and nobody is seeing that and we're not only are the crew of the Enterprise seeing it for the first time, which is established that it's rarely ever seen, like never ever seen by anyone except a Klingon. So they're seeing it for the first time. We're seeing it for the first time. So it's one of those wonderful occurrences where we're all sharing in this together. And it was really emotional and really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I may do that. I may adopt that in my own life. I'm not kidding you. It's so amazing to just howl like an expression of your entire being, just releasing and all that this person has meant to you. I know they see it in a different way, that they're
warning or something,
warning the entrance of a Klingon warrior to the heavens, but it's like also an extraordinary soulful release of who this person was on this planet to you, in this time and space with you. It was really powerful.
Yeah, and also I thought was interesting how Worf, who we have now become accustomed to seeing as a Starfleet guy. So we look at him, we see Starfleet, we see the Federation, and in this moment, his roots transcended the Federation, right? So when he started howling, he joined them in the howl. He knew exactly when to howl. Yeah. He joined in the chorus right away. There was no, Captain permission to howl. It was, you know what I mean? It was like, this is what we do. You know? So
yes, and also, it's that notion of, yes, there was no permission, but it was like I am this, and I am that, and I am this, and I'm over here. We are many things, and we can be all of it.
Yes, and I think that was another message that I got from this. Was I kind of touched on it with Vaughn when I mentioned how he was getting under his skin. But the thing is people who have dual identities. He identifies as a Klingon. He also identifies as a Starfleet, and it's the same thing as
he was adopted. I didn't know. I mean, he was a foster child
by Starfleet. He was found by Starfleet under the rocks, against all odds, left for dead. So this is his background. This is his character's story. This is what he had to overcome and how he perceives the world. And I think that it speaks loudly to people who have this kind of dual identity, and it happens amongst anybody in the world. So you could be a mixed race person. You could have a religious identity and a national identity, where you have dual. Right, you could be adopted.
So there's article in the New Yorker.
You could be a Warriors fan doing a podcast with Lakers fans.
Right.
I could be sitting in Philadelphia in a hotel room, and I'm a California girl.
Right.
Totally.
Out. Yeah. I mean, we can.
But it's complicated, is what I mean.
It's complicated.
And there's a lot of depth there.
And this is another moment I really like too. I liked the way they use Lieutenant Yar in this episode as well. I thought that was great when you say, Captain, do you want me to stay here or do you want me to go and do this? I thought that was like, yes, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear those kinds of things. I want that kind of initiative taken on your part. And I also want the outline of instructions to be made on the captain's part. No, I need you here, or I want you to go and check on Worf and make sure, lead the team. And then when you do show up on Worf's, with Worf,
that was,
the tension was there.
Oh, listen, when you first, okay, so the Romulan presence was kind of dropped. We're in the neutrals, they kind of make this reference like they're seeing some action, maybe Ferengi. No, it's Romulan. There's some Romulan action. Okay, so now we've got to assemble an away team. And Yar, again, that was a little bit of a blip in the logic of the show. If you're going to go onto this rogue ship that is showing no life forms and really under stress in the neutral zone, and you're assembling an away team, and Worf or Tasha are not on it. Again, I'm not buying that.
Unwise.
You can't do that. Okay, so they cover it, or they address it by, for the first time, we see Picard actually say, the reason you're not going,
I need you to stay here because
in case
the
Romulans
might attack.
Okay,
right.
So that doesn't manifest. That was like this weird little thing that was dropped and nothing came about of it. Okay, it was like a distraction of some sort, but it allowed her the next time to say, dude, I gotta go. I basically, you need to give me permission to go.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So I loved that. That was just, yes, my God. Finally, Tasha is like in her role.
And then she goes to Worf and says, phew, that was close, because I thought there was going to be a situation there where I was going to have to draw down on you.
A hostage situation. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was close. And I didn't even know what side you were going to be on, Worf. It was kind of like I wasn't sure,
I wish that would have been dealt with a little bit more, because it was sort of like Tasha was worried about a hostage situation instead of looking at him and going, listen, man, don't ever fucking make me think you are going to side with anyone else. If you're going to stand here on this ship, it's me, it's this crew, or it's nothing. But don't.
It's either us or them. So which side?
Wonder. Yeah. I me now. I would have. Oh no, we're not going to say those lines. We're going to do these lines. This is what it's going to.
I think right then would have been a great moment for Tasha to say, "I need to know where you stand, Worf, right now.
Yeah,
are you with us? Are you with them? Or were you with us?"
And Worf was like, "I was just being polite."
Yeah, he could have.
At the end,
it would have been a moment. He could have said that.
Or he said in that scene when Tasha,
he said, "Cowards take hostages." Klingons
yes, exactly.
Do not.
He was addressing we would never have done that. You had nothing to worry about. That's not what we do.
But still, I didn't know whose side you were on in that moment, because I'm standing on this side and you're over there with them.
Oh,
so it looks like you're on their side, right?
Oh, that should you don't. No. We're done here ever. That will never happen again. Don't make me ever question that.
Yeah.
That would.
And especially when I come up to you and I say, the captain wants them put under, arrest.
Yeah.
He wants, so that's the end of the orders right there. There's no debating that. That's not up for debate. That's not a discussion.
That was a little disconnect for me in this episode.
Slightly, but I did like the fact that you were ahead of that away team or that security team that went to go get Worf and the guys. I thought that was great to see you in that capacity. Yeah. I also like them addressing whether you should stay or go. I thought that was, at least they talked about it, because there needs to be instruction.
Yeah. We've been wondering, it's not making sense.
Yes.
So at least this is the first episode where they're actually addressing what is, clearly not making sense. Every single away team, when you're going somewhere, should involve Tasha Yar. It's
every time, Tasha or Worf, one or the other. Every time.
Tasha or Worf.
At all times.
There's no question. You've got LaForge and Commander Riker and Data? I mean, Data's great for all of his, technical skills. I did love all of that Geordie vision stuff.
That was fun.
That was another thing. Yes.
That was, that's a whole other really cool part of this episode. But again, tracking the logic is a problem for me.
We'll tell you what, we've got to hop over to our free-for-all, but I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to discuss on this one. It's just so much fun, and there was so much to it. There's just some episodes are basically about one or two things, but this one just had so much in it. We'd like to give a special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arukin, Titus Muller, Darlena Marie, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, live from Tokyo, Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Jed Thompson, classic Marcia Schreier, Brandon Gant, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner and Jason Okun. All right, everybody, stick around. Oh, and special thanks to Lolita Faggio for making that Vaughn Armstrong interview possible. Shout out to Lolita. Her. All right, everybody, stick around. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule. This is the free-for-all. Of course, Denise, Cirroc are here to make sure this show has superstardom in it. Malissa Longo's cat is also a superstar, and Malissa Longo is here. We also have the dark one, Chris McGee. Faith Howell, she's part of the cool background triad with myself, Melissa, and Anil. Wait, that's a quartet. My bad. I need to learn how to count. Jason Okun is here with his poster of the week. Allison Leach Hyde has a cool shirt, just like Chris McGee does. Walking art made by Melissa. Check that out on theintrovertedrepublic.com. Mai is live in Tokyo, but also live in Orkney, especially. Carrie Schwent is here in front of a nebula. Oh, Sith happens. Brilliant shirt. And Anil O. Palat is finally back. Thank goodness for that. Hope nobody was holding their breath. And Homer Frizzell is here with Tasha Yar hanging out with him. All right. Here we go. Oh, Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Oh, this might be the higher one. I'm going to say like 7.6, 7.7. Yeah.
Anybody else have any guesses on this?
I like that guess.
Oh,
I don't know. I think everybody likes the Klingon episode, so it might have topped 8.
Yeah, it might be. Might get around 8.
For a first season Next Generation episode, you're saying it might be okay. The answer, yes,
we are seeing Tasha actually do security.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw down. I'm gonna say 8.
Yeah. Do it.
The answer from IMDb.com, the fans and the non-fans alike have rated it a total of, it's not a total, what is that, like an average, I guess? 7.2.
No.
7.2.
Wow.
Delete.
That's harsh.
Rude.
Cue the Homer no image.
Yeah. So everybody, you know your job. Go to IMDb and rate it fairly. Also, did any of you catch the non-appearance mention today? Ooh, there was a sneaky one in there.
Oh.
There's a sneaky one.
Worf's parents?
Did he mention his parents? I don't think he did.
His brother.
His brother, though, yes, but maybe he also mentioned his parents.
Yeah.
Did he say my parents in any point, or did he just say I was just adopted or something?
Well, he said his father rescued him from
Okay.
Kittimer.
The rocks?
That counts. Homer, father and brother?
I'm good with the brother. I have to go back and review for the father.
Yeah. The brother's name is Nikolai. You'll see in future reference, but please
I think
review and let us know, Homer.
Yeah.
I think he called him a Starfleet officer.
People,
he did say a Starfleet officer. Was that his dad, a Starfleet officer?
But I don't think his dad was a Starfleet officer.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be a non-com. He was basically like, O'Brien.
Boy, this is tough. Everybody at home that's listening is just like, why do these people care so much? Well,
that's his adopted father, or that's not his biological father?
His adopted father.
Adopted father.
Well,
but was he rescued by his father?
I don't think so.
They came to some, their place was blown up, where it was all a Klingon base or something, right?
Kittimer outpost.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like they said that his adopted father was the one that rescued him, but I could be. I could be
Starfleet. Yeah,
that seems right.
Yeah, because his brother grew up with him, and they both grew up in the Starfleet kind of system because their dad was Starfleet, and his brother didn't really want to be in Starfleet.
No, his brother went to Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, and then left.
And he stayed back on Vault in the farming.
He's an interesting character.
I can't believe I know. I mean, the fact that I would.
Good job. One of us.
One
of us.
I'm so gonna rip that Next Generation cast apart because they will not know a damn thing I'm talking about. And like next week I'll have forgotten already. But I mean, they are just. There's no way they could even talk about this episode.
Right now, Anil's like, God, you guys are a bunch of nerds. No wonder I haven't been here for a while.
And I'm becoming one. You're making me one. You're making me a nerd.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
It's working.
Well, Malissa Longo, can you write this ship and tell us what you thought about this episode?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't say that anything good about this episode. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I actually liked the episode. I liked that we got to see Worf's character development, some backstory to Worf, and some backstory to the Klingons, and I love that they're laying the seeds for how conflicted Worf's allegiances become down the line, and it starts here. His Starfleet side versus his Klingon side, and I love seeing that. The Klingon death ritual, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall in that moment because it was powerful watching it on the screen, but I can only imagine what it felt like being in the room with these big, strong Klingons howling for their dead. I mean, that's pretty powerful. There's the line that Data says, "Beware, a Klingon warrior is about to arrive." I love that. I don't know why, but it adds to the history and the culture of the Klingons. And then being able to see from Geordie's POV was pretty spectacular too. I mean, I didn't expect that, and I was pretty stoked about that. And lastly, I will say that it's been fun after watching Picard, going back and watching these first season episodes, and to see how far they've come and evolved, and it adds more weight for me, these first episodes, to see where they came from. So I liked it.
Your cat's giving you a side eye right now. Yeah.
She's snuggling.
All right, Allison Leach Hyde is hanging out here, and she is ready to tell us just how much she did not like this episode. Least favorite of the season? What do you think?
Probably not my least favorite of the season. We can all guess which one is my least favorite of the season. It's everyone.
What do you think of
I
this
like
one?
the episode. It's not my favorite, but I do like the episode. It's actually fairly well thought out, and it flows well. I love the bit getting to see from Geordie's perspective, and his joy of sharing how he sees with everyone is wonderful. And I don't know if they did it intentionally, but I like that Data, he sees Data differently. Like Data is like the one who, because we see Riker and then we see Data from his perspective, and Data is more real to Geordie. So you can really see why he would like be friends with Data. Like he's the real one. He's got so much more definition and life to him. So I thought that was a really cool way of foreshadowing, whether it was intentional or not, of why these two become such great friends. So that was my favorite part of the episode.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Jason Okun is also here. He's ready to drop knowledge bombs on us. What's up?
Anytime. Anytime, just ask away. Yeah, I think certainly in my view, it's one of the better episodes of the first season. And I think, for the character of Worf, maybe other than Data, he's gotten sort of the most back characters. I think season is strange. He was supposed to be originally one of the main characters, and certainly, Gene didn't think so, maybe till the very end, that he was one of the main characters, but he certainly got a lot more character development than many others. I think it's the second episode in the string that gives a little bit of his background. We got some of this in Coming of Age, and there's a little bit more here, which is tremendous. I mean, if you look at the origin of the episode and who if you look at the story credit and and even the script, I think it came from DC Fontana and Herb Wright, and it looks like Maurice Hurley just basically rewrote it and put it out as a script. Yeah, so it does tend to have sort of better origins, and you can see that. And Rob Bowman is pretty good at doing it. I mean, there are things here and there. I mean, it's the first season. You can pick at a lot of nits here, and that's probably why the score is a little bit lower than it could have been, had it been done with a little bit more sort of experience behind their belts. But it certainly, it certainly has the sort of feel of the next generation, and it has a feel of sort of character, yes, absolutely character development, for Worf. And certain things do look very interesting. I mean, the whole death ritual, especially at the end, I think, once we're going to do this again, I think Rick specifically said, do not do that again. He didn't like, I guess, the pullback that they did in engineering. But it was certainly interesting to see that. It's a very unique perspective to be able to see that. And I think the performances are great. And Denise, you said you had a lot more to do in it than in a lot of other episodes. And I thought the performance was absolutely top notch and on point. I mean, I guess we're a couple of episodes out from Skin of Evil. I mean, have you talked to the producers by this point? I mean, you must have.
Yeah, so this would have been, we have 3 more episodes, Ryan, before Skin of Evil? So
I think it aired like that, but I think it was filmed earlier. Yeah, it's a couple, I think.
Yeah, so we're talking a month. Oh yeah, for sure. This was a done deal by now. We would have concluded that I was going to leave the show by now, and it was in the pipeline. So, that's kind of an interesting sort of look at how the filming of these episodes, knowing that I am going to leave. but yeah, you finally see Tasha Yar leading an away team as a security team. I loved her in all the shot with her team behind her, all in the gold. And you also see her addressing it being addressed by Picard, why she should stay behind in what would be an obvious, away mission for her to go to, because of this Romulan threat that never panned out, to be kept on in case. So there were it was finally starting to like shake things up a little bit. Stuff was brewing, and maybe my voice was being heard a little bit. But like I've always said, and we'll get into that when we come back for yesterday's Enterprise. But I always feel like I had to die to get the best episode for the character. Although this was at least some spirit of the character. You saw some spirit of her character.
Speaking of character, Faith Howell has a ton of character, and she's here to tell us what she thought about this episode.
I really enjoyed this episode. Of course, I like the Klingons. Who doesn't? I mean, they're iconic. So, and I also really enjoyed seeing Geordie Vision. I thought that was very creative, and I liked how thought out it was. I wish we could see that more often, and go more in depth into what he sees and how that works for him. I also really liked this scene, because we do get to see Tasha shine so much in this scene, and it makes so much sense to me how she would be like, "Hold up, nobody move. What are they going to do? This little girl is an innocent. What are they going to do with her? How she's in danger? But the mom, what on earth? Like, I mean." Touch my kid, alien dude, and see if you walk away with both your arms intact.
She just stood back and was like, "Oh, we'll see how this plays out."
All right, yeah. See, we'll just wait. So yeah, I thought that was a little funny. And then, of course, once she has the kid back, she's like, "Let me get out of here." That makes sense. But I trip on that every time I look at it. It's like, what?
Can I just interject one thing that I haven't brought up in this in this episode? That little girl, how she played, how she was laser focused with Vaughn. She just stood, it was so poised and so intense, and then she was taken, Dorn took her, and Worf took her, and she's just holding her own. It was stunning. I'm watching this episode going, this little girl is so special, this actress. I mean, I don't remember it. I don't remember shooting the scene, but watching it, I was blown away by her intensity, her presence, and her physicality, and her ability to hold that. Look, I mean, we know it's hard to look someone in the eyes. That's what it is. We're all trying to look each other in the eyes when we speak to each other, when we hold attention, when we have something to say, and she was threatened, and that little girl it was extraordinary, I thought.
What she reminded me of in that moment, though, was the first time I went to a Star Trek convention and I saw these two guys dressed just like this. They could have stepped right off screen. And I was like, and I remember they actually did come over. They saw me like dead staring them like they were the coolest thing in the room, because they probably were at the time. And I remember getting a picture with them. So Yeah, that's what that reminded me of was, oh my God, that's the coolest thing. Let me go see what that's about.
I was blown away by her.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't seem like she had any fear at all either.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah, that girl needs to be a security officer one day.
Like, I don't know. I'm curious. It made me think, like, I wonder what 35 years she's, in her 40s.
Mm-hmm. And what direction they gave her at the time, what was she supposed to be feeling?
That's what I wondered, yeah.
I know.
How they got her to just stare straight into the Klingon.
On her own. It was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you have this scene, because I forgot to talk about that and really wanted to talk about her.
Speaking of so cool, Chris McGee is here. And by the way, Denise, the one thing I wanted to mention to you and Cirroc that I totally didn't think of while we were recording was the scoring. The music was freaking phenomenal, and I couldn't believe that they were making such great music back in 1988.
I wrote it down in my notes.
And it wasn't like Debbie Gibson or Paul Abdul. Anyway, sorry, Chris McGee or Skid Row.
Hey.
Well, I'm saying that was great music. These were good things.
It wasn't the Talking Heads, and it wasn't Bowie.
Right.
It was pretty good. Okay.
Well, Chris, what did you think about this episode, and what did you like about 1988 and 89 music?
Oh gosh, the big hair, I love that. Left an impression on me. That's all I can say. So this episode,
lip gloss.
Yes, lip gloss. Aquanet. Anyway, okay, so this episode, the first Klingon outing for TNG, and boy, is it a humdinger. So it was fantastic, of course, seeing Yar finally shine and demonstrate her abilities as the chief of security. So great to finally see you do something more than just stand behind the horseshoe, Denise.
Thank you.
Also, the first appearance has already been mentioned of the incredibly prolific VAUGHN Armstrong. This is, I think, the first and only time he's seen on TNG, but he goes on to do, I think, 11 other roles throughout the Star Trek series. Fantastic. This is also not the last time that we will meet Klingons who hate the Federation alliance and attempt to sabotage it. The one that comes most to mind to me is a Klingon challenge, the VCR board game, which is different every time you play, apparently.
Wow.
I want to play.
What?
Yeah, the VCR interactive board game. Still got it after all these years. And a little bit of trivia, as you noticed, Ryan, the fantastic music. Again, we have to credit the fantastic Ron Jones for that. And of course, on his project of all the CDs in it, the entire soundtrack for this episode is there, including one of my favorites, the during the jailbreak scene, the track is called, or the audio cue is called, "Let's Make a Phaser." As far as the memorable quote of the episode, I almost went with Worf's line, "What burns in their eyes fires my soul." I don't know if it's deeply poetic or super cheesy, but it certainly caught my attention. Instead, I went with the quote that has stuck with me throughout all these years, and that is, "It is only an empty shell now. Please treat it as such."
Yeah.
Very nice.
Mm.
And because it's a repeated line, that as a writer, I mean, that's a powerful thing. You want to echo. If you can echo, it always lands strongly.
Speaking of always landing strongly, Mai is live in Tokyo, straight from the east coast of the USA, actually.
No, from Scotland.
The northeast of Scotland.
You can't move this much, Mai. It's very confusing. I can't keep up.
In Vienna next week if you want to schedule an early report.
Anyway, what do you got for us?
This is a good episode. It hit me differently than a lot of people have been talking about with Geordie's vision, all that. I think it's a fantastic episode for a lot of reasons, but it hit me strongly that they're talking about strength or power not just being a physical thing. When Worf's trying to
tell these guys, don't be like that, be a little bit more cerebral. When some men come of age and they realize they can dominate their peers, their spouses, their children with strength, that doesn't automatically make them a leader because of that fact. And I think in this episode where they use the word warrior, I think that they could use the term mature adult quite well, actually, because to dominate physically is not to dominate, but it's to cow. And I think it engenders no fealty, only fear, anger, resentment, and eventually rebellion. And so I thought that too many young men grow up in their father's shadow and repeat this cycle because they wait their chance to be the strongest. And that's what I see with the warrior class in Klingon culture as well. I think that that's something that happens there. I remember one time when I was a kid, I was 16 or 17, my dad came at me and I stopped him and I said, no, that's not going to happen anymore. And that you would think that that's the day of transition in a young person's life. I'm now strong enough. It's not. I felt really sad. I felt like my dad had lost the position as the strongest, the biggest, the protector in the family. And that was a weird feeling. So the result of all of this that I'm going on and on about is that I'm very proud to say I've never raised a hand to my kids. And I would counsel everybody to learn that lesson really well, especially those of you that are parents. The amusing thing is my kids now find my long-winded, I understand and you need to understand kind of discussions a little tedious. I guess you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But I'm at peace with my methodology on that. But I had one question for Denise. In this, they gave you 2 lines that were just like straight up data speak. They said you had to say, I do not have a clear shot. And then I do not think that is a good idea. Why didn't they have you say don't?
I noticed that. Okay. First of all, it's hard for me to answer your question because I'm so blown away by your what you've just said ahead of the question. Okay. So, let me get back to Earth, because I just go with you on these journeys of, intellectual freedom that you all pose. By the way, it's so rich. It's so cool. So thank you. Yes, I noticed the same thing. That was just like a red light that went off. I don't know. I mean, there's no reason. Tasha Yar, she never said, I do not. I mean, was she trying? I could only reconcile it with she's in command mode. She's in Federation school mode. She's been, this was. I went to a military summer camp once or twice. I think when I was a kid, I learned how to swim. It was, this Page Military Academy summer camp. And I never said yes, sir, to anybody in my life. But it was practice and for what was to become. And she fell into that past speak, that educational past speak, because it really stood out for me as well. It jumped. I was like, it was weird. Yeah, it just didn't seem natural. It was formal. You heard it, and I think that would be my only logical explanation for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my God. You guys. Seriously. Too much.
All right. We've got a Sith here waiting patiently, and her name is Carrie Schwent.
Oh, yeah.
Carrie, what's up with you? What do you think of this episode?
I like this episode. Like Faith, I love all the Klingon ones. They're just so incredibly badass. And what was it? Q has the need to point out that when they're first asking the Klingons about what happened, Deanna would have been an excellent ally in those questioning, because she would have seen right through their BS immediately. Okay, get back here. Anyway, I enjoyed the Geordie vision, but two people who did not enjoy Geordie vision, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but the poor guy sitting at the helm and con stations, one of them's just looking straight down. He can't even. And the other guy is like so uncomfortable it's bright and it hurts, but I can't stop looking at it. Those poor guys. Everybody else is fascinated. Those two were like, okay, can we turn it off now, please? And something else interesting fun fact I found out about Geordie vision, when he's looking at Riker and Data, those are not Brent Spiner and Jonathan Frakes. Those are the actors' doubles, which I thought was kind of interesting. I thought they might be when you're looking at him, because when Data's moving his head around, I'm like, that's not Brent's profile. Okay, there's something going on there. So when I looked up on IMDb, I discovered that little fact, and I liked the pullback with Worf at the end. I would have preferred it maybe slower instead of the jerky. But all of the scenes between the Klingons were great, and those exchanges inspired this week's poetry reading. So here we go. A Klingon heart beats only for glory, for battles that live on in songs and stories. The sound of batless will ring across the surface of Kling, and our attitude can sometimes be stormy. Yeah, he goes, the traitors of Kling. I immediately said, okay, that's going in the limerick. Done. How do I work around that? And got a little help from the hubby, but I think it turned out pretty good.
Was, for sure. Great stuff, Carrie. Anil O. Palat, fun fact, has never written a poem in his life. What's up, Anil? What do you think of this episode?
I like this episode. I think it's really important as far as Star Trek goes, because it sets up like so much of Worf's backstory that keeps going on and on and on, like through Deep Space Nine, all the way through Picard. Like they did it, they were really smart in making peace with the Klingons for Next Gen, kind of closing out that, I guess, what was happening in TOS, but then they make Worf kind of the central point of that, fish out of water or immigrant story, or, so many things, and that conflict that's there that is just really set up really well. And a lot of like open-ended stuff, like, who's this brother? He's an orphan? Like, what happened? There's so many things that lead to so many potential stories that we will see a lot of, which is probably why Worf has so many, he's such a, the most seen character on Star Trek, because there's so many questions that we have about him. And of course we get this iconic meme, which is really great. And I feel like if Ronald Moore has a favorite episode, or an episode that he studied before he wrote a bunch of Next Gen and Deep Space Nine episodes, it's probably this one. I feel like this is the one where he was like, okay, I'm taking notes, and then we get what's to come. So yeah, I like this episode. Really, really important. It's nice to see the seed of all the things that are to come.
What were the episodes you think he would have skipped? No, I'm just kidding, Anil. That he would be like, nope, not watching that one. Homer, who loves every episode, by the way, and everyone. How are you today? And what do you think of this episode?
I'm great. I thought this episode should have been a 7.7. Nice. And I also think we should start keeping track of the number of times Worf should maybe be court-martialed. This one, not quite yet, but he finds out that Klingons basically fooled the other Klingon and ship and attacked them and killed them. So the man knows about people that did something. They were certainly dishonest when they came on board, and he's an accessory to that fact, at least for a while. And then they're like, hey, how about a tour? He's like, of course. And so then he's about ready to go to the battle bridge. And I think we'll never know, but I think he would have gone to the battle bridge with them. But thankfully he is stopped there. We don't know what would have happened. And so I was just like, okay, here's where it begins. I thought that they did a really great job, not just in laying the groundwork for future episodes with Worf, with his backstory and stuff, but also within this episode as well. Like you have the first Klingon that dies, they take the little thing off his boot. It's like, oh, okay, that's a cultural thing. But it turns out it's more to create their gun when they're in lockup afterwards. And I'm watching them as they're getting taken to lockup, and they're like, oh, they seem fairly relaxed about this, because I had forgotten that they actually make the gun, so they knew that they could. It's like, okay, that is pretty brilliant. This picture that I have, this is just after Yar is told, stay on board, the Romulans might be coming. And I thought it was pretty good, because I think you get the feeling that she would rather be going where the action is instead of just in case, and then pushing buttons in case there's some sort of an attack from space. Yeah. The
Homer.
other thing,
Homer, you
yes?
rock.
Hey, I just have to have a photo of Yar, and I'm good.
And you got to live in Walter Koenig's former apartment building in Manhattan as well.
That's right, 119. The other thing, just briefly, let's see, check quickly. Oh, so Geordie Vision, I appreciated it. Yes, we got some information about Geordie. I think that Picard got into it a little too much. You had a situation down there on a ship that was unstable, and then they're talking about, okay, yes, this thing could go 5 minutes, no, less than 5 minutes. Okay, do. It's like, all right, you guys got to get moving.
Yeah.
Yes,
Geordie, look over there, dummy. What is that?
What is that? No, back there, over there.
They were having such a great time.
Riker goes, excuse me.
I know.
Enough. I don't mean to interrupt your bromance going on, but
how many fingers am I holding up, Captain?
We know where this is going.
Exactly. That's all I have for tonight.
Homer mentioned 119. Good knowledge, Homer. That is today's episode, season 1, episode 19.
Very good.
Just like the
very
apartment
good knowledge.
building. All right, bringing it all together. We got to go in a minute, but before we go, we forgot something, you guys. We forgot the home run of the day. Who you got, Denise?
Well, I mean, VAUGHN ARMSTRONG takes it to another level. He takes this language that was so rich and deep and provocative, and grounds it in reality, and creates a believable character, a captain, of this race that we have not seen. He allows for Worf to present himself, but he is just, to me, what I love, the best of the world of acting, in that he was in the theater, he was working on all kinds of stuff, Shakespeare, American theater, Arthur Miller, Eugene O'Neill. He was down at the San Diego Globe Theater, which and the Mark Taper Forum, which are two bedrocks of incredible talent historically in LA and San Diego. And he was able to bring a kind of real depth that set the tone for the rest of the future of Star Trek. God knows what this could have looked like. He created this. He created what Klingons could and would be, and he did it with incredible talent, incredible humanity, and he is a star reborn for me from watching this episode.
Very nice. What about you, Cirroc? Who's hitting that home run today?
I would say it's chorus, day, and the time. And that's
Captain Chorus.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Captain Chorus is going to get that. I'm blown away by Vaughn Armstrong's performance in this episode. It lets you know why he began his journey, long career in Star Trek, doing so many different roles, because he delivers scenes like the ones he did in this episode. And I thought it was just a great challenge for Worf. It brings so much depth to him. And the scenes that they had together, felt meaningful. I liked when he kind of poked at him and says, "Have they tamed you, or were you always docile?" And it was just like he just kept poking this bear, trying to get him to react. And of course, Worf would react. But I just really enjoyed this story. I think that watching this episode, I started to get a feel for Next Generation settling into their groove. I felt like they had, by this time now, found out a formula that is starting to work for them as far as character development, as far as how they want to incorporate the aliens that they bring on this week. I just felt like they're finding a formula that works for them, and it's starting to grow on me in that kind of a way. So yeah, I'm going to definitely say Vaughn Armstrong. Also want to say really quickly, I love the scene that Rob Bowman had with the falling through the glass from the underneath.
Yeah,
that was a great
cool.
shot.
Great shot.
Looked awesome. And then also want to say really quickly that I saw Dennis Madalone once again in this as Security Ramos getting zapped. So we got to see Dennis Madalone as well make his another stunt debut in this episode. So I had all the elements for me. They really checked off the boxes. They made something that was deep, that was thought-provoking, that gave us insight into other culture, the Klingon culture. And I thought it was a good balance of each character kind of having some role in this. Loved it when Riker says, Picard says something to the effect of, it's like a trap or something. Yeah, no, I know it's a trap. I got it. And it's like, I kind of liked all of those moments. So they're starting to grow on me on this show, and they're hitting their groove. And so yeah, I enjoyed it. Vaughn Armstrong, hell of a job.
Oh yeah. And I'm in agreement with the both of you. Take it to the chorus. Captain Chorus, that is, gets the home run. What is that? 3 home runs in one day for one guy. Actually, Vaughn and Ron Jones gets honorable mention on this one, because that music is freaking stellar and really stood out in the episode for me as well. But that's all we got for you, everybody at home. Say goodbye to Melissa, Faith, Chris, Jason, Allison, Mai. Who knows where Mai is anymore? Carrie, Anil, and Homer. For myself, Denise, Cirroc, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. We'll see you all next time. And until then, always remember the 7th rule.